Look, I used to take every single sales call that came my way, and I'd spend 40, 60, sometimes more than an hour on a call with someone only to realize that eventually they were never going to hire me, or worse, they had no idea what they actually wanted, no real budget, and I was essentially just consulting for free for an hour. Now, I ask one question about 15 minutes into the call, and it tells me everything that I need to know. Today, I'm going to break down the exact question or sequence of questions that is, why it works, and how it saved me countless hours of wasted time in sales conversations. If you're new around here, hello, my name is Ollie. I'm currently 5 years deep in the game with the ambition of growing a world-class video production company. I've worked with clients all over the UK and the US and the UAE. So with all the social proof bullshit out of the way, I have nothing to sell you here. No course, no luck pack, no links in my description. I only make these videos because I bloody wish that someone had told me this stuff when I was first getting started. So if you find it helpful at any point, just share it, right? That's all that I ask. That's how this thing grows. And if you're taking a ton of sales calls, but you're not closing them, and you're spending hours on calls that are going nowhere, then this is probably why. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to filter out time wasters early so you can actually focus on the people who are ready to work with you. Let's get into it. So here's what used to happen to me all the time. Somebody would reach out or I'd reach out to them. They'd seem legit. We'd get on a call. I'd spend the first kind of 30 minutes or so doing discovery, asking about their event, their goals, what they're looking for, all of that sort of stuff, right? And then I'd go on to the pitch. I'd talk about what we do, show them some of our work, explain our processes, and they'd be nodding along saying, yeah, this all sounds great, right? You know how this goes. And then I'd send the proposal and nothing. They'd come back with, we've decided to go with a different provider, or the budget's changed or reduced, or some other polite way of saying no, basically. And the most frustrating part is that I could have spotted this straight away if I just asked the right questions, because most people who reach out, they aren't actually ready to hire you right now. Yeah, they're just exploring, they're shopping around. They don't really know what they want yet. And that's totally fine, but you don't want to spend hours on the phone or on a call with someone who's just kind of gathering information. So what I started to do is change the questions that I asked, and this changed everything within my sales process. All right, so here it is. About 15 minutes into the call, after I've done some basic discovery and understand kind of where they're at, I asked this question. If we were to work together successfully over the next 12 months, what would be different from now until then? And then I follow up that question with, and how much investment do you think is reasonable to put towards this to ensure that that actually happens, right? Two parts here. Both of them are critical. Now, let me break this down and tell you why that it works so well. So the first part, what will be different between now and then, tells me if they're thinking long-term, right? Because video, we both know, isn't a one-off thing. It's a long-term game. And if somebody just wants a highlight video for one event, like that's fine, but that's not really the type of client that I'm looking to work with long-term. I want to work with people who understand that video is a significant investment, but that investment compounds, right? That the work that we do together will build over time. So if somebody can't answer the question, if they're like, I don't know, I guess we'd just end up with a video, then that is a massive red flag. It tells me that they haven't thought this through properly, that they're not serious, that they're basically just kicking tires. But if they say something like, we'd have a library of content that we could use for future marketing. We could use it for sales and recruitment. We'd have consistent brand image across the board. Now we're talking, right? That's somebody who you can tell actually gets it. Now, the second part, how much investment do you think is reasonable? This is where most people trip up, because ultimately this tells me if their expectations are anywhere near reality for me, right? If they say something like, I was thinking maybe £500 or £600, then I know the project probably isn't going to go ahead with the kind of services that we offer. And I'd rather know now than waste another 30 minutes trying to sell them on something that is essentially out of budget and they can't afford. Now, here is the key. I'm not asking them to commit to a number at this stage. I'm asking them what they think is reasonable, right? It's a temp check. It's gauging kind of where their head's at. And if the number that they throw out is way off, then I can just kind of handle that objection right there. You know, I can educate them. I can explain why video costs what it costs, what goes into it, and why it might be worth their investment. But if there's no room for that in their conversation and they're locked into a budget, then it's just not realistic, right? I can just politely end the call there, thank them for their time, and just tell them that it doesn't sound like a good fit for us right now. I'm not here to convince people that don't want to be convinced. Now, let me give you an example of this playing out in the real world. I was on a call a couple of months ago with somebody talking about covering their event, and that seemed legit at first. We did the discovery, I understood what the event was, and then I asked these two questions, right? If we were to work together successfully over the next 12 months, then what would be different between now and then? And her response was, I don't know, dude. I'm just the marketing manager. So that's not great, right? But I pushed on. And how much investment do you think is reasonable to put towards this to ensure that you get the results that you're after? And then she said, well, the guy that we normally work with charges $600 for filming and editing, right? So, okay, you're coming to me because the work that we do is different, right? You've seen the quality, you've seen the results. So you know if you want that level, the investment's going to reflect that, all right? She got it. She understood that we were going to be more expensive. But then I asked if it was possible to speak with the actual decision maker, right? Because ultimately you need the answer to those two questions before you can move on. And you need that answer from someone who knows what success looks like and has the authority to actually make it happen. She said that it wasn't possible to speak with essentially like her boss, the senior marketing leader or whatever. And I just told her that it wasn't going to be a good fit and ended the call, because here's what that conversation told me in a very short space of time. It told me that they didn't value video as a marketing asset, that it was just a nice to have. She didn't care about the work that she was doing or the event. She was just doing a job to get paid. They didn't value quality over price. They were shopping for the cheapest option and basically wanted to go with an option that just looked good enough. And then ultimately they weren't looking for a long-term solution provider. They just wanted a quick fix. All of that became crystal clear in about 2 minutes, right? And instead of spending another 30 minutes trying to convince her, I just moved on, right? And that's the power of asking the right questions early. So in terms of actually using this in your sales calls, the first 10 to 15 minutes should be your discovery, right? Understand where they're at, understand what they're looking for, what the project is, what results they're looking for. And then before you start pitching or talking about what you do, just pause, right? And ask these questions. If we were to work together successfully over the next 12 months, what would be different between now and then? And how much investment do you think is reasonable to put towards that? Then just shut up. All right, shut up and listen. And if they give you a clear, thought out answer, then that's fantastic. They're qualified. But if they fumble and they don't know and the budget's wildly off, then that's your cue, right? You can either educate them and see if there's room for a conversation, or you can just politely end the call and save yourself all that hassle. Either way, you've basically just saved yourself from wasting time on the call, on follow-ups, on quoting, on pitching from someone that was never going to hire you. Look, your time is valuable, and if you're spending hours on sales calls that go nowhere, then you are just wasting that time. You are losing money because you could have spent that time on actual client work, on new leads, or anything else that you wanted to do with your life, right? So start asking this question. It's simple, it's not aggressive, it's not pushy. It may feel a bit awkward at the start, but you will get used to it. It's simple and it just saves you hours, right? And if this was helpful, then subscribe. I post every single week on the real side of video production and business. No fluff, just what actually works. So feel free to check out the rest of the videos on the channel, and I will see you very soon. Take care.